In the flickering shadows of the Lascaux cave some 17,000 years ago, a hand was pressed against a damp stone wall. Pigment was blown through a hollow bone, leaving behind the silhouette of a palm. It was the first human broadcast. It didn't merely say, I was here, it said, this is what I saw, this is what I felt, and this is what you need to know to survive. That handprint was the first baton in a relay race of wisdom that has spanned millennia. It was the birth of the story. Fast forward to the mud of the Somme. There in the claustrophobic trenches, men huddled by candlelight to write home. Their letters were brave, noble, and reassuring. A soldier might spend 3 paragraphs inquiring after the health of a family dog or the state of the rose bushes in the gardens, all while the earth shook with the thud of heavy artillery. Those letters were more than mere correspondence. They were a window into the senselessness of war, capturing a nobility and a dignity that no history book could ever replicate. They survive today as brittle, yellow testaments to the men who fought. We can touch the paper. We can see where the pen faltered. The beauty lay in their magnificent triviality. By discussing the mundane, they tethered themselves to a world that still kind of made sense. When a wife received that envelope, she held something that her husband had touched. Today, a soldier in the field can FaceTime home from the front line. They can send a burst of pixels across the ether, a momentary flicker of reassurance in high definition. But those videos aren't tactile like a letter. And even though they will live on in the internet forever, they lack permanence. They're instantly lost among billions of hours of triviality, digital ghosts floating in a vacuum where nothing is precious because everything is permanent. When everything is recorded, nothing's remembered. A FaceTime call is a miracle of electronics, but it's a fleeting ghost, leaves no trail, doesn't sit in a shoebox under a bed for 60 years, waiting for a grandchild to discover the true nature of their ancestor. And we see that same erosion of the spirit in the rugged world of demolition and construction. For generations, this industry has been a bastion of oral tradition. It was never truly learned in the sterile quiet of a classroom or through the cold glow of a tablet computer. The site was our classroom. Knowledge wasn't delivered, it was handed down and passed along like a family heirloom. It was shared over morning coffee, in shouts across site, and in the quiet, weary comments shared at the close of play. Industry veterans were our libraries and our teachers. Their stories were our mentorship. A veteran wouldn't just tell you how to bring down a reinforced concrete wall, he'd tell you how it feels. He'd share the near miss that taught him more about gravity than any physics professor ever could. And central to this transfer of wisdom is a very specific, very British brand of dark humour. On a demolition site, when the rain is horizontal, the mud's knee deep, humour is a survival mechanism, a way of dealing with the daily struggle. The wit is the grease on the gears of the industry. It's the nickname given to the site manager that sticks for 20 or more years. It's the leg pulling that tests a newcomer's mettle. That humour carries the culture. It teaches a young apprentice that while the work is serious, there's no space for ego. And when we lose our storytellers, we lose the laughter that makes the hard days bearable. If the soldiers were the authors of our wartime history, the veterans of the demolition and construction industry are the authors of our urban landscape. But their stories are rarely written down. They're etched into the lines on their faces and the calluses of their palms. A man who spent 40 years on site is a walking archive. He doesn't teach through PowerPoint presentations. He can tell by the specific sound of a diesel engine if a machine is struggling. It's folk wisdom in a hard hat, knowledge that's been passed down through generation after generation. But we're currently witnessing the great retirement, a mass exodus of these industry prophets. As each man hangs up his hard hat, a vital library closes its doors. When they walk off site, They take their gut feeling and their stories with them. We're trading lived experience for binary certainty. And the final act of this tragedy, I guess, will be the rise of the autonomous machine. Imagine a site 50 years from now. It'll be efficient, certainly, but it'll also be silent. A robot doesn't remember the Great Storm of 87. A self-navigating excavator has no use for the stories of the men who came before it. When man is replaced, the storytelling ceases entirely. The machines won't reminisce. They'll simply exist until they're obsolete. The tragedy of the modern age is that we've mistaken information for wisdom. We have more data than any generation in history, yet we're becoming increasingly stupid because we've forgotten how to listen to our elders. Storytelling is the heartbeat of humanity. It's what separates us from the beasts and the bots. It's the way we process our trauma and ensure that the mistakes of the past aren't repeated. If we allow the chain of storytelling to break, we aren't just losing industry knowledge, we are losing our connection to each other. We should treat the veterans of this industry like the treasures they are. We should sit with them while we still can. Because once the last storyteller leaves the site and the machines take over, the silence that follows will probably be the loudest thing we've ever heard.